Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you're good. Welcome to Halloween. It's not Halloween, but it's October, and in my mind, it's basically the same thing, right? Because it's this month, I sorta, kinda, don't hold me to this. I really want to film a couple quite a few reviews on some of my favorite spooky reads, but like I said, don't hold me to it because I don't know if I'm going to follow through, but it's something I would like to do this month. The first book that I would like to quickly discuss with you today is Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, Dracula is a book that I think everyone should read. If you haven't, it's the perfect month to do so. This was published in 1897, I believe, and this is a gothic horror novel about vampires. It's one of those books that if we didn't have this, we wouldn't have a lot of the vampires you see today in our pop culture. Now, this isn't even the first vampire book, but this is the vampire book that really changed the game when it came to vampires, and it's what influenced what we have today. It's really interesting though, because I think when it was written and just around that time, it didn't have much influence, but you know, 100 years later, it's just crazy to see what has been inspired by that. And I'm not sure that it's for the better though, because because of this we have Twilight, Vampire Diaries, True Blood. I mean, if you like those, that's great, but I mean, are they really that great? You know, this really changed the game, like how I view Lord of the Rings, how Lord of the Rings really changed everything for fantasy. So for that alone, you should read Dracula. But a little bit about Dracula. Dracula follows Jonathan Harker, and he is this lawyer that's trying to sell property to a specific someone, that someone being Count Dracula. So he travels to Transylvania to Dracula's estate and tries to sell him property in London. It's very quickly that Jonathan starts to notice things are off with this person. Things start getting eerie and dark. Things are not right. And I think that's all I'm going to tell you plot-wise. This book really captures you in its tone and its atmosphere. It almost has this effect of weighing on you, which maybe doesn't sound great, but I mean, it's an enjoyable reading experience. And I think the flow just really goes through smoothly. Another thing, the narration of this is so strange for a book from its time. I'm really curious and sort of wondering how Bram Stoker sort of fathomed this idea, this narration. It's told in diary, journal, letters entries from our cast of characters. It almost feels as if it's ahead of its time in a way. The way it's told and the order, we're hearing from these characters' experience in this letter format while they're going through this, and it's a very well put together novel. And though I really like the format and the way that this book is told, I think the best thing about Dracula is Dracula in itself. Now, don't get me wrong, Dracula actually isn't in this book all that much. He's in the beginning for a bit, and then he kind of goes away for a bit, and then he shows up again in the end. But the way that this book presents vampires is just amazing, because vampires as creatures were never meant to be, you know, these rock stars, these heartthrobs, these heroes, these really good-looking. I mean, sure, vampires can be seductive and appealing, but it's in a different sort of way. And in Dracula, vampires are shown as these really just evil beings. There's nothing good to them. They're evil creatures that, in order to continue to live in their undead fashion, they need to drain the life of other creatures, you know? blood from humans. I really like that aspect of this because it's not flowery, it doesn't try to, you know, do anything fancy. It's just straightforward. Vampires are evil creatures and it's very good versus evil. How do we destroy this creature? And what do you do when these vampires, these sinful creatures, knock at your door, you know? When you're faced with that, how are you going to combat that? Or will you succumb to that? Is very interesting. With this as well, there's a lot of religious elements, you know, biblical and whatnot. You can interpret it in so many different ways, like, is Dracula the Antichrist? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know, man. Dracula's just a really good book. To sum this up, I think that everyone should read Dracula because, like I said before, we wouldn't really have what we have today in the vampire genre without Dracula. You know, for those of you that like your Vampire Diaries and your Twilight and your True Blood and your Blade and your Interview with the Vampire and other stuff, read Dracula. You know, this is the OG, maybe not the original vampire, but the, in my opinion, the best vampire. So you should check out Dracula. And yeah, that's it. That's my thoughts on Dracula. You should read it. Yay. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go now. You guys have a great day or night wherever you are. If you have any thoughts or opinions on Dracula, leave those in the comments below. And also, what's your favorite vampire book? Leave those in the comments below as well. Okay, bye.